Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 5:51, and the Eagles of Bax and Nagle and Rock 102.
Going to be sunny and nice today with a high of 73. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It's 45 right now in downtown Springfield.
Hollywood Trash is brought to you by Western Mass Masons. Call them for all your foundation and chimney needs.
Somehow you still care about what's happening in Hollywood. So from Tinseltown, 3,000 miles away, it's Steve Nagle's Hollywood Trash.
Let's see what we got here this morning. George Lucas says that Yoda speaks backwards because he wanted people to focus on what he's saying. Because if you speak regular English, people won't listen that much.
I'm sorry, what did he just say?
He said, speak forward, backward, backs.
I don't know.
I don't know, but you already made so much more sense.
He was basically the philosopher of the movie. I had to figure out a way to get people to actually listen, especially 12-year-olds. I don't know. I mean, he's a puppet.
And Frank Oz is his voice. So who's not going to listen to that?
Well, I mean, he actually had a good idea, because how many Yoda dolls did this George Lucas sell the licensing for to make probably billions of dollars.
More than a dozen.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The class of 2025 was announced last night on American Idol.
And?
There are 13 inductees. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Bad Company, Chubby Checker, Joe Cocker, Joe, Cyndi Lauper, Outkast, Soundgarden, and the White Stripes.
All right. And who was excluded?
Let's see. Well, Salt and Pepper and Warren Zevon will be inducted into the musical influence category.
Okay.
There are more being recognized in the musical excellence category. R&B songwriter Tom Bell, pianist and organist Nicky Hopkins, and bassist Carol Kay. And the Ahmet Ertegun Award will go to Lenny Waronick. I don't even, whatever. He was the president of the Warner Brothers Records before founding DreamWorks Records.
Right.
As for the snubs, Fish won the fan vote last week with 330,000. Bad Company came in second and Billy Idol followed in third. Despite love from fans, Fish and Billy Idol did not get in. So for Billy, it was more of a red wedding. Sorry.
Right. In other words, what this tells you is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't give a damn about your opinion. And never has.
The fan vote doesn't have a ton of influence on who makes the hall. It only counts for a single ballot among the 1,200 that are cast, which is kind of stupid. Why would you call it a fan vote?
When your two top vote getters get snubbed, and Cyndi Lauper gets in, I'm sorry, I don't get that. It almost makes you wonder, why am I even voting in this?
This is just the second time that the winner of the fan vote didn't make it in. Previously, it was Dave Matthews in 2020, but they finally got in last year. Yeah, probably because they got a lot of guff.
Well, there should be guff, too. I'm sure there are a lot of Fish fans that aren't happy.
And from a marketing standpoint, wouldn't you take the one that the fan voted for to get people to go and visit the museum?
But this shows the endless arrogance of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
But this is not unlike the Oscars and all that other stuff. Any of these awards
especially
shows.
Since, was it last week you did the story about this is the first year that all the people voting in the Oscars are required to watch all the films?
Which I was surprised that they were not doing that beforehand.
I mean, It just seems to make sense. If you're going to vote, watch what you're voting for.
Anyway, the induction ceremony will take place November 8th in L.A. It'll stream on Disney Plus and Hulu and blah, 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 blah. Not that I'm going to watch it anyway. I'll watch the highlights.
Yeah, you'll watch it on TikTok.
Let's see. It might surprise you. Let's see. There's really not a lot of Hollywood news today.
Short weekend.
Hollywood is kind of like going by the way of the dinosaur. Have you noticed that? Like, there's nobody really making a whole lot of movies anymore.
No, they're making TV shows on the streaming platforms.
Yeah.
They're doing this thing or that thing.
Kanye West got banned from Twitch for going on a rant about how he should have had babies with Paris Hilton, not her assistant, Kim Kardashian. This guy just really knows how to talk to the ladies, doesn't he?
He really does. You're never going to get a chance to reconcile with that kind of language.
I should have banged Paris Hilton instead, not her assistant.
Yeah, well, it's too bad, huh?
Gene Hackman's final autopsy report is finally here. It's in his latest and greatest hits.
Really?
Yeah.
And?
Well, it doesn't say anything more than what we've already heard that happened. The guy had issues. He had Alzheimer's. He had dementia. And it was such a sad story to know that they died in that fashion. You know, the dog, because there was all these questions of whether or not there was like a murder going on. No. It was just a caregiver situation that couldn't be resolved.
It's a very sad story.
It is.
And I love me some Gene Hackman.
Do you?
He's one of my favorite actors.
He was pretty good. He was pretty good
fantastic.
in Mississippi Burning when he was like a big badass in that film.
The guy could do comedy. He could do drama.
Yeah.
He could do something in between.
He could do everything. He was Mean Gene Hackman.
He could drive a car through Chinatown like no one's business.
Yeah. Sorry, my back has started knotting up here in the middle of this thing. What is that all about?
I don't know.
But, people want to read into things that didn't happen. No, there's some conspiracy going on. Gene Hackman is part of the Illuminati.
Sure he is, yeah.
And so is his wife.
I don't think so.
They were Freemasons, you know.
That doesn't mean that they should die under suspicion.
No, but this is the things that people like gaslight other people into believing. Like there has to be some weird explanation for it because it just doesn't seem like a natural thing that happened to Gene Hackman. It did though, you know. I mean, they were living by themselves out in the middle of New Mexico,
and he had dementia. He didn't know what was going on. Poor guy.
Kim Kardashian's Skims brand is introducing a scented swimwear line, claiming each bikini will smell like summer memories and fresh coconut.
She must have something to say.
Oh my God, the last time something smelled like that around me, Ray J was giving my lasagna the old Hawaiian punch in that sex tape you can purchase on YouPorn for $39.95.
Oh, yeah.
My love lasagna. That's
right,
what
love
it was.
lasagna. Caitlin?
Well, I never rode the raves with your mother, Chris Kim, but one night she did give my fuzzy sea cucumber a full body noogie. She had a real thing for exfoliating with the old knuckle snorkel.
What are you trying to say?
What I'm trying to say is she once played all 12 minutes of Freebird on my pocket bassoon. Ah, your mother shedding tears like a wounded sea cow while I tuned the meat sacks. And that is your Hollywood trash on Rock 102. Ah!
You rough wire.
Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Sunny and nice day today. High is 73. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It's 45 right now in downtown Springfield.
We talking to Scott Cohen later on this morning. We're talking about the draft. We'll talk about the Thunderbirds. We'll talk about any number of things, what have you.
Just real quick about the weather. Man, like... I was just reading somewhere yesterday where somebody was like, "Oh, the last 5 Saturdays in Massachusetts have rained," but we've had this like summer-like weather. Like today is going to be beautiful today
and tomorrow,
right? But for the weekends, you know, and yesterday it was nice, but it was cold comparatively to what we had, you know, last week. It just kind of sucks when you finally get to the weekend where you have a day off. Oh, yeah, it's going to rain today.
There was a summer that happened, I don't know, 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that, where, like, during the entire summer, every weekend
it was
rained
rain.
out.
Yeah.
Like, all the events that were supposed to go on, you all had to get postponed, and everything had to be done in a single day. Yeah, it's, weather works funny that way. And that's why I specifically blame a guy like Lapis.
Yeah.
It's easy to do.
It's always his fault.
It's his fault. It's satisfying to place blame directly on his shoulders.
I was out doing yard work yesterday, and I got cut by a pricker bush to the face.
It's very
gang-like. Like, it looks like I was in a gang fight, doesn't it?
I was going to say kind of, Al Pacino and Scarface.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. I can make it badass. I was like, I wish this was something cooler that happened to me. You know, like I was in a fight. They got in a knife fight over a packet of Sweet and Low at a Dunkin' Donuts. You know what I mean?
That's
that kind of thing. That didn't happen.
Yeah, or you're at a bar and someone looked at you funny.
Yeah.
And you should have seen the way he looked after the fight.
Well, I was trying to make it more realistic.
All right,
fighting an old lady over the last packet of Sweet and Low in the dispenser at a Dunkin' Donuts. That's the kind of hijinks I would be involved in.
No one would believe you be in a bar.
No.
And then secondly, maybe a fist fight. I can see like okay, I got into a fist fight at a bar at I don't know, say like at a Friendly's.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get my bill right away, and I had to throw down to get my to get paid.
You know, I know you wanted to. Because I want to talk about it too, but I think we can talk about that during sports.
Yeah.
About the humiliation during the draft yesterday.
The hilarious prank against Shedeur Sanders.
You just did the View from the Couch about it, but we'll talk about it more with Scott because I think we're running out of time for it now. But now that you've brought me, I want to address a few things especially with you.
What'd I do?
You didn't do anything. It was the suggestion that you made the other day. Over the weekend, I went and emceed the Rick's Place 5K.
Yeah.
Beautiful weather out, by the way. It was a successful event either way. You always hope that, like, when you have a nice day, you have, like, sometimes these runners just like, I'll just run over to that thing and sign up and do it. But they had 150 registrants, so at least there was some success to that. But anyway, afterwards, my daughter was with me, and we went over to that Evans Egg House that you go to. It's absolutely delicious. I'm not eating like the carbs and all that stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my daughter had that bacon hash thing, which it's out of this world. I had the 5-egg omelet.
You had I don't even eat the 5-egg omelet.
Yeah, but I wasn't eating any bread or anything, to go along with that.
What'd you get inside of it?
I got like tomatoes and onions and peppers and meat, and some meat and all that stuff. It was pretty damn good, man.
About the size of a sofa cushion.
It's huge.
Yeah,
it's absolutely huge. But then I had to go over to Lowe's, and so we stopped at Chimura's.
Yeah,
and I picked up a loaf of rye bread.
Yes.
And a loaf of that meat bread.
Yes.
I gotta tell you, I'm sure. Listen, I'm not like poo-pooing on the place. I didn't think the meat bread was that great.
It's, you know what? I think it's not going to be the kind of thing that everyone's going to love.
Because I'm not eating a whole lot of bread anyway. I kind of bought it for the house to bring home, and it's kind of pricey too.
Well, you got meat and bread. I mean, you get a lot in there.
Okay, but like, how much would be willing to expect to pay for something like that?
I don't have a price point in the top of my head, but I'm sure it's pricey.
It's roughly $15 for a loaf.
All right, that's.
But
how is the rye bread?
Sticker shock.
How is the rye bread?
The rye bread's always good. I've always had the rye bread there, but like I said, I'm not eating a whole lot of bread right now.
Well, it's not the kind of thing that I would go to Chimura's every week and say I got to have this because I need sandwiches for the week. I mean, I probably wouldn't do that, but on occasion, like at a special occasion, big family dinner, I might get that as a treat.
I don't know, man. I didn't think it was as good as you and that listener made it out to be. That it was like, oh, wow, oh, my God, you got to have the meat bread. They make a good Polish rye there, too.
Listen, you're at Chimura's. You're not going to fail. I told you everything about Evans Egg House, and it lived up to the expectations, and I'm satisfied. Expectations. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's always kind of like I was waiting for angels to start having a chorus on my tongue, and that didn't happen. It was just like, it's all right.
Well, remember that pork roll you gave me a couple years ago?
Yeah.
You said, oh, you're going to love this. I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Just okay.
Well, now you're saying that?
Well, I mean, it was delicious. It was delicious. I didn't want to insult you by saying, my God, it's the greatest thing ever, when deep in my heart, it's like, it was good.
What else are you lying to me about? You told me you were raving about it.
It was good.
You were raving about it. And now you're admitting, it wasn't that good. So because you're trying to match my energy over this meat bread?
I wanted to show you some level of gratitude, and I was very grateful that you provided the pork roll.
Oh, so now I'm an a-hole for not showing you a level of gratitude over this meat bread that you were praising left and right.
Steve, I'm not here to judge at all. At all. I mean, if you don't like it, it's just not your thing.
Wow.
It's not your thing.
Oh, the truth comes out.
Now, when you came in here with that jerky last week from Autumn Miss Farms, that was exceptional.
I didn't think it was that great.
You told me you loved it.
I'm kidding. That was actually pretty good. Matter of fact, Barry Krieger went and got some because he said the power of radio.
Uh-huh.
You know, I've been talking about it. I did a video of this. You saw it over the weekend about the power of radio. People think that this is a dead medium, and it's not.
Not at all.
But it's by far dead. And Barry Krieger, who I hadn't even talked to probably in the last week or so, he sent me a text going, here you go, the power of radio, and he sends me the 2 big bags of beef jerky that he went over to Autumn Miss Farm and got.
And did he offer an assessment?
He said there's another one, because I didn't even know they were doing this, and I got to go back over there. There's a garlic parmesan one.
Ooh.
That sounds good. He had a teriyaki, which you and I had the teriyaki, which was really
very good.
But what is the other one that he had? I'm just looking it up here. I gotta. Why is Barry Krieger and mesquite.
Okay, that could be good.
But
that could be good.
You have to like that to probably enjoy it. I don't know if I'd necessarily pick mesquite. I'd definitely pick a teriyaki, and I definitely want to go try the garlic parmesan. But they were out of the garlic parmesan one, so now I got to go over there and.
Well, how much is a bag?
I don't even know.
Really?
I don't even know. I'm sure it's not like it's not Slim Jim priced.
No, but like real jerky can be pretty pricey, based upon the cut of meat.
You know, I don't know. I have to go over there. But either way, between that and that Billy C's, Billy C's is pretty good. That's like that thin shaven stuff over there, but it's soft. I don't like a real hard beef jerky. I don't like it getting so stuck in my teeth that I have to like rip it off the thing.
I don't like it turning to dust, and I don't like fighting with it.
Yeah,
if I got to fight to chew it, and my jaws are in pain by the first piece, I'm not going to grab a second piece. But with that thing, it probably melted in your mouth.
People were raving about what the hell was it? The Buc-ee's beef jerky.
Yeah,
it wasn't anything special. I think a homemade one like the Autumn Miss Farm one or a Billy C's would be a way better than that.
It's so much better than those third-rate Jack strips you get in a gas station.
Jack Links.
Jack Links, awful.
Listen, it comes with one of those silica things inside of it. When you have to put that inside your beef jerky. That doesn't sound like it's anything fresh.
It was so much like a shoe. I felt I needed a shoehorn to get it out of my mouth.
You ever check the expiration dates on stuff when you buy stuff like that, or do you just grab it off the shelf?
I so rarely grab it at all that I don't even think of the. I don't really think of the expiration date, although I probably should. I never got sick from it.
You really should, because there's a lot of these like little independent stores, convenience stores that, if you go to walk into a Cumbies or something, you're probably pretty safe that somebody's keeping up with the dates. But when you walk into one of those independent convenience stores where there's like, halal meat and lottery tickets and beef jerky, and you should really check the expiration dates on the product, because I think sometimes they're not good.
Like when you go to the milk counter, or the milk fridge, and it's Thursday, but the milk expired on Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't.
It's like maybe it's time to empty off the shelf.
That was always like I thought when you have to run a place like that, like food safety is like one of the priorities that you have, especially for fresher items like that.
Yeah, for some.
But I think I'm a big fan of those. What is it, Reese's Fast Break bars?
Oh yeah, those are delicious.
They are delicious. But the problem with the one time I had, and I won't say where, but it was a store in Bestfield.
So I have no idea what town you're talking about.
On Bankland Street.
Still don't know what you're talking about.
And it was they might have sold BitGo gas.
Nope, don't know them.
And I open up the candy bar, and it was like dust. It was like crumbling. And then I look at the expiration. It had expired like last year. And I went and got my money back, but it was just like, nobody's checking the dates on these things?
Yeah, I think inventory is not a big thing for some local businesses.
No, they're more interested in selling bongs.
Yeah, right.
Hey, we got bongs and vapes.
It's 6:25 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Hey, Brian,
It's 6:27 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Dan Brown should have the full forecast for you.
This week on Baxi's Musical Podcast, my guest is Mark Burgess from the band The Chameleons. He's joining me again for the second time since last May. They got a brand new record coming out this fall, and they're going to be at the Big Night Live in Boston on Wednesday night. This is one of the great overlooked bands of the 1980s. The Chameleons are phenomenal, and you'll be able to hear that interview on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, the Rock 102 YouTube channel, rock102.com, and on the app. And it's all brought to you by Metro Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram Chicopee, and Rock 102 Springfield's Classic Rock.
You ready to laugh?
I'm ready to laugh.
All right, let's laugh.
It's Bax and Nagle's Joke of the Day.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you.
On Rock 102.
I make you laugh.
Springfield's Classic Rock.
The guy tells his buddy, I got a new girlfriend. She's anorexic. And he goes, oh, yeah, how's that going? He goes, like, well, not too good. Each week I'm seeing less and less of her. You see, because she's anorexic and she's losing weight at a very unhealthy rate.
It's so unhealthy.
She needs help.
She does need help.
Bax and Nagle in the morning on Rock 102. Springfield's Classic Rock.
6:31 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102. It's time for news brought to you by Yankee Home Improvement. If you're thinking about a new walk-in shower system, call Yankee Home and mention Rock 102. Get $1,021 off plus 50% off installation all month long. Here's local radio icon Steve Nagle.
Thanks, Bax. A Springfield man with numerous previous convictions was indicted last Wednesday by a federal grand jury on drug and firearms charges.
Indicted.
He's an indicted felon.
No, he's an indicted felon. Numerous. What was he? Numerous previous indictments.
Previous convictions was indicted.
I see.
Yeah.
That's the one you chose to mess up.
The charging document stated that on January 27th, 36-year-old Hector Navarro of Springfield allegedly possessed cocaine that he intended to distribute. On that date, he was also alleged to own a 9mm handgun with approximately 47 rounds of ammunition and no serial number. Navarro has multiple prior convictions, including heroin distribution, possession with intent to distribute, and assault with a dangerous weapon. Due to these charges, he's prohibited from possessing a firearm and ammunition. Just because you're prohibited of doing that doesn't mean you can't do that.
But let's not judge the guy. I mean, from what I understand, he's a lot of laughs to hang out with. He's got a great sense of humor and a good dancer.
Absolutely. You should see his number that he does.
Where do you see the way he dances around the prosecution?
That toe tapping ditty he did in front of the judge to get out of the last one. On Wednesday, Navarro was indicted for possession with intent to distribute cocaine, being a felon in possession of ammunition, and possessing a firearm in furtherance of a drug distribution felony. He's
felony.
Whatever. He's currently in state custody on additional related charges that is scheduled to appear in federal court at a later date. With these charges, he faces 5 years and up to life in prison and could pay a fine of up to $250,000 and up to $1 million. Like he's got that kind of money.
He might have a little bit of hardship coming up with that, but he's a very industrious fella.
I think it's funny when they put a price tag. Here's your fine of $250,000. How much? What kind of assets do you have? Nothing. I have a Pinto. All right, well, we're taking that, and then you can pay the rest off in payments. We'll garnish your wages.
Yeah.
$26 a week until you pay it off.
That should take you about 498,000 years.
Yeah, see, I don't understand, put them in jail. This is the whole thing that we've been talking about letting people back out, the day after they get picked up for something. The guy had all this ammunition and rounds. He was in jail because he had already been convicted of something. But many times these guys are just let back out on the street the next day.
But, it's like if you had a gun and it's an illegal gun, it seems to me, and you're already committing additional felonies, that would be enough to lock you up and not offer bail. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a dumb DJ who plays Led Zeppelin CDs for a living.
You could be a lawyer.
I'd be a terrible lawyer.
Listen, I look at TikTok all the time. There's lawyers, people pretending to be lawyers all the time. This is what I know about these cases.
A lot of people pretending to be a lot of things.
A Massachusetts teenager was arrested in New Hampshire on Wednesday for driving recklessly after troopers observed him driving 120 miles an hour. New Hampshire State Police said that approximately at 10:30 p.m. on Wednesday, a state trooper was conducting enforcement on the F.E. Everett Turnpike southbound. Is that like a route?
I believe so, yes.
Was it I-93?
It could be.
Yeah. Why don't they just say that?
Because they want to seem like they know what they're talking about.
That's like when they do that whole thing. Somebody had an accident this morning on the Julia Buxton Bridge in Springfield.
You mean South End Bridge?
Yeah. Anyway, southbound in Nashua observed a vehicle driving well over the speed limit. The trooper using LiDAR technology to determine that the 2020 Ford Edge was driving 120 miles an hour in a posted 50-mile-an-hour zone.
Can I just say something here before we get too far into it? The thing that I find that leaps out at me in this whole story is the fact a Ford Edge can get to 120 miles an hour.
That is pretty surprising.
I mean, I know American cars get a bad rap, but that's pretty good speeds for a car like that.
No. He was lying. He was using LiDAR. You see? That thing doesn't even know. It was actually only going 40.
Yeah, the LiDAR. Do you know how fast you were going? Yes.
Yeah. And you were driving 120 miles an hour down the fast lane.
Yes, I was trying to get to my wife, Morgan Fairchild.
Yeah.
Who I've seen naked.
Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah. No, here's the ticket. You just got it.
I don't know if it was Tommy Flanagan who was pulled over here.
The vehicle was stopped by police, and the trooper spoke to the driver, identified as 19-year-old Derek Nazaro of Tewksbury. During the stop, Nazaro showed the trooper a false Massachusetts driver's license, which violates traffic prohibitions. Really? Really? Producing a fake license is illegal?
It is in the state of Massachusetts and New Hampshire and many other states, for that matter.
He was arrested and charged with reckless operation. He was released on personal recognizance bail and is scheduled to be arraigned in Nashua District Court at a later date.
He's going to have a hell of a time getting that discount that everyone allegedly gets when they turn 25 on his insurance.
Really?
Oh, yeah. No, if you're reckless and breaking the law, I don't think you get much of a discount at all.
Well, you should.
Well, yes, if you are driving within the realm of motor vehicle law, but this guy clearly wasn't and had no real interest in following any laws, including the fake license.
A new voting rule is up for a debate in Deerfield at the annual town meeting on Monday night, a week ago. I'm so glad we're hearing about this right now. Deerfield residents, it's supposed to be happening tonight. Deerfield residents will decide whether to lower the voting age for town elections. The proposal would lower the voting age in town to 16 years old. It would only apply to town elections, not state or federal. A similar proposal went before the town last year, put forward by local students. It was considered in Conway, Deerfield, Sunderland, and Whately, and Deerfield was the only town to reject it. If approved, it would begin the process of sending a petition to the state legislature asking them to approve the change. MassVote.org says that some lawmakers introduced an act back in 2019 that would have allowed cities and towns to lower their voting age without state approval, but it ended up stalling in committee. It's the very last item on the agenda, coming after the annual budget and 21 other articles. The meeting will be held at Frontier Regional School tonight at 7 p.m.
Now, are they doing this because voter turnout in those towns is notoriously low?
Probably. I don't know.
Have you ever spoken to a 16-year-old child?
Yeah, actually, sometimes they're a lot smarter than a 46-year-old.
Yeah, but listen, they can get your phone to work properly. They maybe get your DVD player to operate correctly. But when it comes to voting and the sophisticated knowledge that a voter should be going to the polls with, do you feel comfortable having a 16-year-old cast their vote for important elections?
I don't feel comfortable with the adults that are doing it now. So what's the difference? What really is the harm in doing that?
Well, I mean, you'd like to think that if you are, say, over the age of 30, and you might have a little bit of more life experience and knowledge to help you choose the right candidate, as opposed to 16, where you're really not quite there yet.
That's a very boomerish thing to say.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. What's the difference? Look at all the people that vote now. There's a lot of people that are uninformed about what happens, and
most of them don't vote at all.
That's what I'm saying. So what's the difference?
I'm just saying, Steve, I know how I was at 16, and I wouldn't have trusted my vote. I was a moron back then. Thank God I shook out of that.
I mean, you're in a time where you're actually learning about government and all that stuff in those school years. A lot of people who are, when was the last time you took a civics class or a history class?
1987?
It's kind of my point. How much do you remember?
All of it.
No, you don't.
Every single bit of it.
I say, why not? Let them vote. If you're gonna listen, you might as well take care of it all at once. You get your license, you get your voting registration. You might as well just do it all at once.
I don't know, Steve. I don't. I'm sure there are plenty of people that would feel kind of not real comfortable with the idea of letting their 16-year-old. Listen, I don't feel comfortable giving my 16-year-old kid the keys to the car, just so we can drive to the voting polls.
But my point being is, do you feel comfortable right now, the people that are voting now?
No, because most voters are idiots.
Right.
I understand that.
That's what I'm saying.
But at least they're mature idiots, and that's what I'm saying.
No, I don't really think it makes a big difference. I think you should just let whoever wants to vote.
All right, but
we'll
then
start the voting at 12.
Let's say 15 years from now, someone says, you know what, 16, boy, we really should let 12-year-olds vote in elections.
Okay, well, do you think that the age of consent should be lifted from 16 to a higher rate, to a higher age?
You could make an argument that maybe 16 is not the right age for age of consent.
I'm just bringing up things that these kids are allowed to do at those ages. What else can you do at 16 years old? You can drive a car.
Yeah.
What else can you do at 16? You can have access to your own medical records.
Yep. You can work.
Right. So if you're able to work, why wouldn't you be able to vote?
Steve, I don't have answers to everything. I'm just saying that I don't. It doesn't necessarily move me. If I had a vote on this proposal, I'd probably say no.
Listen, if you're going to go out and work and be an adult, you might as well be able to do adult things. Go ahead, vote. Be able to. You're paying taxes.
Okay. Should a 16-year-old be drinking alcohol or owning a gun?
Well, that would be
owning property.
That would be up to the voters. And
that's a cop-out right there.
No, it's
serious.
serious.
A total cop-out.
Listen, if you're paying taxes and you're not too far off from it, they want a younger workforce now, so why not?
All right, listen, to the 1040 EZ form is all you need to vote in this country. Then doggone it, go do it.
Well, I mean, seriously, if you're gonna be voting, if you're not able to vote, should you even be paying taxes at all? Like, should you even be I know you probably get it back at the end of the year because you don't make jack squat being 16 years old anyway. But should you be able to even be taxed on it to begin with?
Of course you should.
Why?
Well, for one, you would if you eliminated that, it would be another strain on Social Security, which you would also be paying into. Taxes, the state taxes are used for specific purposes. Age shouldn't have anything to do with it.
No, but you should be able to vote whether or not you want that or not.
See, I don't see it that way. To me, these are like an apples and oranges type of comparison.
Yeah, I don't know. I see it.
Listen, I may be old enough at 16 to wash dishes in a restaurant. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have the intellectual capacity to know the difference between what I'm voting for in an election. For some, sure. But generally speaking, a 16-year-old has not reached that level of development to make proper and informed choices.
Back to my point, I know a lot of 46-year-olds that don't have any business voting. And yet they consume information that is completely wrong.
True.
But
there are many 16-year-olds that will mature into voters that do.
I don't know, man.
They just haven't reached the age of maturity in which they are able to distinguish between, one party, one candidate, one ballot question from another.
Listen, we had 16-year-olds voting. Imagine the keg parties we'd all be having.
Oh, dude, it'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
It'd be great fun.
I'm all for it. I don't know how you're not for that.
Every day would be the Blarney Bash.
That's what I'm getting at. Let's have a big party. You know what I'm talking about? This is what I'm getting at. Listen, if I got to write an essay to get into UMass, I should be able to vote whether or not I can put a natty daddy down my throat at 17 years old at 6 o'clock in the morning.
If I win election, there'll be a kegger in every garage.
Party on, party people, let's go!
Vote for me. I'll buy you nachos.
Who doesn't want nachos at 8:30 in the morning?
Breakfast nachos and keggers.
Your Pioneer Valley forecast today, sunny with a high of 73. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It's 46 right now in downtown Springfield. I'm Steve Nagle, and that's the news on Rock 102. Oh, yeah.
GG Inks, screen printing and embroidery. They print the shirt on your back. Heck, they make the
Classic Rock at 6:52 and the Rolling Stones at Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
It is going to be sunny with a high of 73. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It's 46 right now in downtown Springfield.
Beautiful couple days to go golfing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you've already got the Rock 102 Golf Club, you're in luck, because for $129 you can get 7 rounds of golf at some of the area's really great courses like Keeney Park, Brattleboro, Northampton, and more. It's all brought to you by Swing Oil Beer. That's less than $20 a round. So you can get yours today at rock102.com. Makes a great gift, and Rock 102 is the golf club is brought to you by Swing Oil Beer. Try their new England IPA, perfect for the golf course. And Rock 102, Springfield's classic rock.
I don't even golf, and I know that's a great deal.
But you've been golfing. You know what it costs.
I'm a horrible golfer.
I'm terrible.
No, I'm worse than you. I'm probably the worst golfer on the face of the planet.
I haven't played in 10 years.
I went to the driving range over at Mr. Whippy's last week. Man, I suck. I suck really bad. I couldn't even get it to the 100-yard mark.
Have you ever taken lessons?
No, my dad had a couple of Bud Heavies and told me to stand straight and make sure you're looking down at the ball and make sure you don't take your eyes off the ball. That kind of thing.
Good. Perfect coach there.
I'm good with chipping the ball. I can chip the ball.
You can chip. Yeah, I'm good at eating a bag of chips while all the guys golf.
I'm not good at driving the ball.
Yeah.
I cannot. I always.
Well, the long game is the least of your worries. I mean, it's the short game that really people forget about.
When I was down in Hilton Head watching these pros, these guys are hitting it 350 yards off the tee. It's and you're like, what? And in a straight line, no less.
And they're not even swinging that hard. That's just practice.
Yeah, Scotty Scheffler's like, tink, 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 and the thing is going, it's like Happy Gilmore. The thing's flying through the air and landing 350 yards away.
And you hear a choir of angels sing every time he swings.
Yeah, but I couldn't. There's no way. I don't think I have the patience for that kind of sport.
I never played enough to be any good.
Yeah.
I mean, I was probably good for 1 or 2 decent shots per round. And then that was it.
Yeah.
And so whenever I've played golf, I always preferred to play in golf scrambles so that I'm not slowing anybody down. We're all playing the same ball, and if my ball stinks, that's quite all right. We don't really need to play my ball unless that's part of the rules. But that's how I would prefer to play. But again, these things sat in my garage for almost a decade, untouched.
One time I was at the Hamden Country Club before it became, the beautiful,
the bougie Shangri-La that it is now.
Great horse. It was where people would wear plastic spoons up their butt versus the silver ones that they have now that go there.
Sporks.
Yeah, sporks. Yeah,
right,
absolutely, sporks. And I remember doing a drive off I don't even know what hole it was. It was across the street. It was the one across the street.
Right.
And I had hit the drive, and the thing went far, and it actually landed on the green.
Shut up.
Of another hole. Because it was like bad GPS. Like the ball just decided, I'm going to take a left here instead of going exactly where you want to go.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So I'm not very good at all.
I mean,
but I remember being drunk. That was probably the highlight of the day.
I was very good at that.
Yeah.
My best move was running after the beverage cart.
Yeah. Well, you got to have some kind of hobby.
You got to hydrate.
No. See, I wasn't even after the beverage cart. These were in the days where I had not a dime to my name, so I had natural ice cans stuffed in the golf bag, along with some nips.
Yeah, that's the way we used to play too.
And then when they come around, the beer girl comes around on the cart, and she sees you drinking that, and you're like, wait a minute, no, we don't sell that.
Oh, we bought that at the bar.
Even at the Hamden Country Club, they didn't sell Natty Ice. What do you drink? What do you got there? Oh, I'm drinking a micro brew, a Milwaukee's Beast Ice.
They don't even sell that up there either.
Well, Milwaukee. Was it Milwaukee?
Okay. The good earth.
All right.
It's 6:57 at Rock 102.
Call or text us anytime on the Route 10 Tire listener line. And now, Bax's View from the Couch. Brought to you by Rocky's Ace Hardware, Benjamin Moore Paint, Cabot Stains, plus rock-solid painting advice and expertise.
Hey, good morning, sports fans. How the heck are you? Folks, I'll just say it. The only thing good to come out of Cleveland, Ohio is the major interstate highway system, both of which take you as far away from that place as you're willing to go. In fact, I-90 heading eastbound will take you back to the state of Massachusetts, a welcoming place in which our citizens and occasional visitors are met with dignity and gracious hospitality. But when you go from the friendly borders of the city of Boston and head westward to Cleveland on the Mass Pike, then I think you'll find out that the city of Cleveland is loaded with jerks. For example, yesterday, while the Boston Red Sox were busy destroying the Cleveland Guardians by a score of 13-3, one mouthy Cleveland fan was ejected for inappropriate behavior. What did he do to get the boot? According to reports, the fan was ejected for viciously taunting Red Sox all-star left fielder Jarren Duran from the front row. Now, we've all been to baseball games, and we've all heard insults at opposing players and umpires. That's just part of the fun. But in this case, this fan decided to kick it up a notch by specifically referencing the recent Netflix special Clubhouse, a year with the Red Sox, in which Duran admitted to a suicide attempt. Using this to fuel his hostility, the fan allegedly said to Duran, "Why don't you go kill yourself?" Folks, I make fun of people every day of my life. They even named a bathroom after me. But even I have certain limits that I would never cross. This would have been one of those times where I might have shown a great deal of restraint. On the other hand, if I were a Cleveland fan and I saw Jarren Duran belt 4 hits on 6 at-bats and steal home in the 5th inning, I might not be entirely thrilled with the guy either. But a simple F you or you suck would have been enough. But going down the suicidal rabbit hole says a hell of a lot more about you than it does about the mental health of a guy who courageously was able to openly share his vulnerability on a Netflix special. Nor is that guy in any danger of losing his season tickets as a result of it, whereas you probably will and should for many years to come. But hey, enough of my yapping. Sports brought to you by Rocky's Ace Hardware. It's the lawn food lawns love. Scott's 4-step from Rocky's. 4 easy step, 1 step every 2 months. And wow, look at that lawn. Everybody be talking about it. You want to go to Rocky's and get Scott's 4-step for $95 with your Ace Rewards card with no mail-in rebate nonsense whatsoever. You can get it at your neighborhood Rocky's Ace Hardware. I'm Bax. That's my view from the couch.
Rock 102.
Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock at 7:10, and Joan Jett with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Sunny today with a high of 73. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It's 46 right now in downtown Springfield.
Well, the NFL draft is here and done and over. And to talk about that and other stuff is Scott Cohen. Good to see you.
Yeah, morning, gentlemen. How we doing?
Well, you know what? Very excited about the Patriots all
Me
of a
too.
sudden. To be quite honest with you, every hole that seemed to be wide open.
And there were many.
There were many holes up there. They seem to have filled all those gaps. What did you think?
I thought they, listen, if you've been reading or listening over the weekend, there are people that saying this is the best draft that they've had in a decade. I would not disagree with that. Will Campbell and his short arms. That was the big story beforehand. They stood pat and they took him at number 4. Man, are you kidding? That kid is like right out of Central Casting. Looks the part. It looks like a great kid, a fine young man, and I was really happy with him.
But the quote of the year, when they go up to him and said, how do you feel about you playing with Drake May? And the first thing out of his mouth is, "I will fight and die to protect Drake May." It's like, that is the greatest NFL quote I've ever heard.
Right. It's like, was he going to show up on D-Day, at Omaha Beach and fight to the death?
Yeah.
That's what he said.
I can see him taking those little Neanderthal short arms and chewing on the thighs and arms of opposing defensive players and just and spitting out their bones.
Buddy, the only guy with shorter arms than Will Campbell is my good friend Steve Nagle when the check comes.
Hi. Well, that's because you make all the big bucks.
Well,
might as well
right.
let the guy with the big arms with the big money.
Absolutely, buddy. The key when you make the big bucks is to try to hold on to as much of it as you can.
But when you look at what they drafted and like this the running back out of Ohio State, Henderson.
Yep, Travion Henderson from Ohio State, huge part.
I'm looking at video of this guy over the weekend.
He's a beast.
He's unbelievable.
He's unbelievable.
And it's not like Ohio State doesn't play top-notch teams all season long. This kid could be phenomenal.
He could be phenomenal.
And same with a number of the other players, but you just get a sense that everything is going right for the Patriots right now. Even much more confidence than I think any of us have had in a good 4, maybe 5 years since Brady left.
Yeah, so again, they got who they needed at number 4 with an offensive lineman. That's huge need for them, right?
Yep.
And then if that running back and that wide receiver can, if they can just work out at all, that'll be a home run. And then there was a lot of people. Listen, you'd have to be a diehard college football fan to recognize a lot of the names that came along in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and so on. But it looks like after they got those 2 offensive pieces, that they pick the best players available, and they get like 2 thumbs up.
They even get the Mr. Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant,
Kobe Minor from Memphis, cornerback. He is the last guy picked.
Yep, and listen, we're all pulling for him. Maybe he can turn into Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy, still. But he was very close to matching Shedeur Sanders for being Mr. Irrelevant. That was obviously the talk of the entire draft.
It was.
Here's a kid that, by all accounts, should have been one of the top 5 players chosen. Certainly one of the top
on paper,
one of the top quarterbacks chosen.
Yep.
32 teams pass him by, and he finally gets selected in the 5th round.
Right.
The kid does have talent. There's a lot of baggage surrounding this kid, but it also sounds like, is there collusion from every team just trying to put this kid in his place, because he did not interview well and he did not perform at all at the combine. He didn't do a lot of things that kids going first round should have gone in.
Actually, he didn't do anything right. Okay, he didn't do anything to help himself. And obviously that this is, you were right. This has been the talk of the draft as much. Everybody remembers talking about Shedeur this weekend and like, oh yeah, who was the number 1 pick? That other quarterback, what's his name? He didn't do himself any favors. I wouldn't go as far from my purview anyway. I don't think it was collusion. I just think that the kid is loaded with baggage that just nobody wants to be a part of.
Part of the baggage that they're talking about is having Deion Sanders as a father.
His father. You can sit there. I mean, he's not a 19-year-old kid. I mean, he's a grown man. Okay, he behaved like a jackass the whole way through. If he was your son, you'd sit there and go like, cue eye roll. What are you doing? And he tested poorly. He interviewed poorly. Said all the wrong things, and it was just a case of teams just can't be bothered with that kind of thing. But the bottom line is, if he really had the goods, he would have been chosen sooner than he was. Teams looked at the problems, and they also looked at their own needs, and he didn't fill their needs.
I think a lot of teams are concerned about how much interference Deion Sanders will do. And you know what, Deion Sanders, I understand that, and there's a lot of personality things in common between father and son here.
Yeah.
Remember, Deion Sanders came out of college.
I mean, Shador, he learned from the best, man.
He certainly did. But Deion's also got a job in Colorado that's going to take up a lot of his time. Is he the kind of guy that's going to focus on the things that he's going to do in Colorado, or is he going to be the kind of dad who's going to criticize every little thing that gets for the team that selects his son? It's how Cleveland's got him, and they got like 4 or 5 other quarterbacks they have to deal with.
He landed in the best possible place that he could have, because there's I think there's 3/4. Joe Flacco is the veteran quarterback on that staff. Kenny Pickett. Who are these guys? He actually has a chance, if he is as good as he thinks he is, to make that team and play quarterback next year. But let me give you a scenario. Deion absolutely has his own business to take care of. But here's what teams did not want to deal with. Shador's having issues in training camp. Deion is asked about it at his weekly press conference in Colorado. Sometimes he won't say anything. Other times he's going to drop a couple of lines about what's going on. Then all of a sudden, all the national pundits start talking about it on TV. Then Stephen A. Smith gets a hold of it. He starts talking about it. Then the beat reporter for the team that Shador goes in the press conference asking the head coach, hey, did you hear what Deion Sanders said? They don't want that. They want nothing to do with that, and that's what would happen.
They don't want Deion to become the Lamar Ball of the NFL.
Exactly,
right.
And we've seen it before. They don't want to have anything to do with it. That's what happened.
On the other hand, I think the best story of the weekend is this prank that was pulled by this kid, the son of the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. Apparently gets Shador Sanders' personal phone number from his dad's opened on a unsupervised iPad, and then calls Shador Sanders. Says, "Hey, it's Mickey. What's his face from
the Atlanta Falcons?
No, it was from the New Orleans Saints. We're picking you
that's
next.
Right. Yep.
Just stay patient." And as it turns out, it was just all a big gag. And I just think, man, no one loves a good practical joke more than I do.
No doubt, buddy.
But that's a classic.
It's a classic. And the kid, because he was a coordinator's son, he issued this big apology for it. And you know what? He doesn't have to apologize for that. That's what hijinks and practical jokes are all about. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, man.
Let me bring something up if I can. Did you see the CBS Sunday Morning interview with Belichick?
I did.
Yeah. With the girlfriend
and the girlfriend.
So he's got he's piping the new book, The Art of Winning, and he talks about his father's advice, and of course he talks about Tom Brady, but there's some things he will not talk about. And the interviewer asked him how he met his girlfriend.
Yes,
the 24-year-old Jordan Hudson. She was sitting in the background like she was his PR consultant.
She is his PR consultant.
Is she?
Yes.
Wow.
She runs all of his social media.
What does P and R stand for in that situation?
I'd rather not say.
Before he could answer, Jordan said, "We're not talking about this."
Yeah.
No. And then Tony, the interviewer, he asked Bill about his playfully staged Instagram photos with Jordan because they show off a, quote, different side of him. And he sits there like this confused old man going, "What the hell is he talking about?"
Right.
And after this long pause, he goes, "Yeah, I guess I'm on some of those social media platforms I honestly don't follow."
He doesn't.
Yeah,
No.
You're an old man being told what to do.
Right.
Here, hold me up like we're planking at the end of Dirty Dancing.
Well, it's like what happened with that is obviously the story about the meeting. They met on an airplane and, yada, yada, yada. Well, apparently that might not be the first time they met. He asked the question, and she's like, she knows that she's dating a doddering old fool, and she doesn't want him to spill the beans about how they really did meet.
They met on an airplane. What, did he have to switch seats because she was too young to sit by the emergency exit, and he had to switch the seats? I'm the irresponsible adult here.
Hey, man, I'm going to give Bill Belichick all the credit in the world. Good for him, man.
That's disgusting.
It is. It is.
He's sitting on the plane with this woman. She's got her iPad out looking at episodes of Bluey and the Wiggles and
exactly.
and he's looking at game film.
And he's like, "Oh, what's that, young lady? Would you like a Shirley Temple?" But
have you ever seen this Dora program I've been watching? I'm on season 6.
Hey, I do want to mention this story about the Red Sox in Cleveland over the weekend. Jaron Duran, who was on this Netflix special a few weeks ago, talking about how he had a suicide attempt.
He went through some dark times.
He's doing much better. He's worked hard to get back to where he needs to go. They go to Cleveland, and some guy sitting in the front row decides to bait him a little bit and tells him, "Why don't you go kill yourself?
Why don't you go kill yourself?"
Now,
and he obviously Duran took exception to it. Big brouhaha in front of the dugout. Yeah, Baxi. I mean, listen. We talked earlier about hijinks in professional sports. There are lines you cannot cross, and that was really, really disgraceful. They know who the guy is. Thank goodness all the fans around him pointed him out, and he's going to get on that ban for life from Major League Baseball parks.
Yeah. Now, I've been to Fenway, and I have yelled some terrible things,
of course,
as a fan.
Yep.
But even I, who has very few limits.
Yeah. Thank you for having some self-awareness.
Even I wouldn't go down that rabbit hole.
That's terrible.
At all. On the other hand, Duran had a remarkable day yesterday, so he's like, well, I'll show this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Say all you want.
I'll just steal home for the first time in 16 years. That'll be fine.
It's like, how about if we just compare checking accounts, shall we, and see who's winning in life? Thank you.
I mean, honest to God, though, when other fans are pointing you out and say, yeah, that's the guy right there.
That's the guy. He'll get what he deserves.
Totally. Next week?
Yeah, I'll be by next week. We didn't mention the Celtics. I would have preferred them to make last night's game a little easier than it was.
And the Thunderbirds got eliminated.
Yeah, the Thunderbirds got bounced out of the playoffs yesterday.
Too bad.
Yeah, they did. So we'll see them next year.
Very good. It's 7:23 on Rock 102. It's 7:26 Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Dan Brown should have the full forecast for you.
Let's see. Hey, later on this morning, we're going to give you a chance to win tickets to see Beautiful Losers on 52 Sumner. They're going to be in there on Saturday. I believe that is the Bob Seger tribute.
Yeah.
And great place to see a show. If you haven't been there, you need to check it out. Gorgeous place. Amazing what they've done to the joint. And your chance of winning those tickets coming up later on this morning.
You have, it's still April, but we're never not thinking about like the open pantry and things like that. A lot of food banks throughout the area are coming up short this year.
Right.
But there are some good things happening. The Westfield Food Pantry food truck relaunched its services for a 5th season on April 24th. The organization is now set to serve. I didn't even know this was going on. Set to serve meals weekly on Mondays and Thursdays from 12:15 to 12:45 outside of the First Congregational Church of Westerwood throughout the summer. The Food Pantry Executive Director, Rebecca Hart, told Reminder Publishing she and her sister and Pantry Program Director, Melissa Callahan, have learned a lot from the food truck experience, but most importantly has allowed them to make further connections with community partners. She said it's always about the clients and the people. It's nice after 5 years they've really established relationships with people. They get to know the people. They don't only offer food. They're also able to offer wraparound services. They have the Bay State Health truck that comes and does blood pressure screenings and provides free socks and health insurance referral information, application information. They have a lot of collaboration after the last 5 years. Served first on the menu this year was chicken and homemade waffles with a side of fresh fruit and veggies.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I'd be willing to pay for something like that.
Sure, I would too.
If I went to, I'll have to reach out to them and see if I went and paid. Can I get the chicken and waffles as well? I'm sure I know it's for people who can't afford to buy food, but what if I made a donation? Can I get a meal?
Say, for example, they charge you $10.
I'd be willing to pay $10.
I'd pay more than the $10 because it'd be a tax write-off, and I'd get some chicken and waffles.
I would be willing to pay the price of a loaf of meat bread from Chmura's in order to get. The truck is located on Academy Street side of the church, and services are free for any Westfield community member in need. Yes, but I'm an outsider. I live in the hill towns, but I still enjoy a good chicken and waffles. So if I'm willing to pay for it, may I get a serving, please?
I don't see why you couldn't.
The food truck can sometimes be used at other events, and when selling their meals, they do sell their meals. All proceeds go towards the work of the food pantry. Hart added they're mainly focused on free meal services now, though, due to the inflation factors. So, still a lot of people doing good throughout the community as far as food insecurity goes. So
something to think about.
Good for them.
By the way, I don't know if you are aware of this, but the new chicken and waffles place in Wilbraham.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't been there, but I've seen the.
I know one's been in Chicopee for a while, and a couple places in Connecticut. But yeah, Wilbraham, Boston Road, right around the corner.
I had some authentic chicken and waffles down south last year.
How was that?
That was delicious.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
There was a place I went to down in, what the hell's the name of the town now? Bluffton, South Carolina.
You've already got me hooked.
It was one of these did I tell you about this one? The farm-to-table restaurant?
No. Is that where they kill the cow right in front of you?
Yes. It's not cows, though. It's chickens.
Oh, okay.
A lot of chickens there.
They behead the chicken right in front of you.
Well, it's funny because you walk in, you're walking around this like farm area, and you're like seeing these chickens. You're like, oh, how cute the chickens, and then you realize, wow, this one's going to the chopping block next. And I had I misspoke. I wanted country fried steak, but I called it chicken fried steak, so they brought me a chicken cutlet.
Uh-huh.
Like a fried chicken, which was fine. I wasn't complaining about that. But it was like the chicken cutlet deep fried with gravy.
Ooh, it sounds good.
And they had, what was it? Stewed sauerkraut, or stewed cabbage, which was basically like a sauerkraut. And then roasty, they called them roasties potatoes. They were roasted in an oven, and then they dip them in a deep fryer to get that extra crisp on them.
No kidding?
Yeah, and I had grits. Now I never really. I think it was just this. I think I had grits once, and they were very.
They're kind of bland.
Yeah. I don't know. You can do so many different things with these grits, apparently.
Oh my God!
And,
there's so much that can be done with grits.
And this was like a shrimp grit kind of thing. I didn't see any shrimp on the farm-to-table restaurant. I don't know where they were getting those shrimp from.
From the shrimp farm?
Right, but it was shrimp grits. And man, I was like, wow, how have I never had... I guess because anybody around here that would serve grits doesn't really do it the southern way.
You know
like
what?
Here's your bowl of plain oatmeal.
Grits, if they're done the right way, are fantastic. They're addicting.
But it was like, wow, a real southern fried country meal. And then they had, I told you, deviled eggs are not my thing.
Yeah.
Because of the bad experience I had with the deviled eggs.
Sure.
But they were bacon deviled eggs.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
so good.
And it was Good Friday, and my sister was with me, and she couldn't eat the deviled eggs because it had bacon in it. And I'm like, I'm going to hell anyway, so I might as well eat all of the deviled eggs.
I'm putting all these
hell
eggs in my handbasket.
Hell eggs in my handbasket.
It's 7:32 at Rock 102. 7:34 with Bax and Nagle and Rock 102. It's time for news brought to you by the law offices of Mark E. Salamone. Injured? Tell the insurance company you mean business. Call 1-800-WIN-WIN-1 right now. There's local radio icon Steve Nagle.
Thanks, Bax. 45-year-old Megan Meredith was found in the area of Springfield's Riverfront Park early Tuesday morning. Meredith was unresponsive at the time she was found and later died. On Friday, the status of that discovery went from unattended death to homicide. However, the Hamden DA's office assures Western Mass News that his office in conjunction with the Springfield Police is working on the case vigorously, and in terms of any risk to public safety, this is what the DA had to say. I'm always a proponent of being aware of people being aware of their surroundings, no matter where you live or where you are. But with the recent incidents, the recent murder this week, and anything else, I'm not in a position to say. There's no reason to believe there is a need for any heightened concern for safety measures in the region. In recent days, there's been a lot of speculation online that this case is connected to others across New England, but Gallooney says there's no evidence that supports that theory of a serial killer at this time. However, internet sleuths are not convinced. For weeks, there's been online chatter over an alleged New England serial killer connected to discoveries of bodies and human remains across New England. And this week, a brand new social media group called Springfield SK, that's for serial killer, gained nearly 20 million followers in a matter of days. That group, attempting to link the recent homicide on Hall of Fame Avenue, law enforcement, including the Hamden DA and FBI, however, say there's no evidence to support this theory. Now, there was one, I don't know, I'll have to check what town that was in Connecticut. The one that was recently, this one down in Connecticut. A Groton man accused of murdering a woman was scheduled to appear in court this morning. 68-year-old Donald Koffel was arrested Friday and charged with the murder of 58-year-old Suzanne Wormser. Police said Koffel had confessed during a third interview. He told investigators that he killed Wormser inside their shared home and left her body at the Colonel Ledyard Cemetery, where it was discovered 6 weeks ago. This was another one that people were trying to connect about a serial killer. Either way, it's a horrible thing that happened, but it's not connected to these other murders, but people automatically jump on this bandwagon online because it's on Facebook or whatever that, this must be connected to this. It's not. This guy clearly confessed to this.
But you know what? I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, look at how many hits this Facebook page got, or this Instagram page got, over the course of just like a week. I mean, I understand that it may be interfering in an investigation, but people are watching this stuff and people are interested in this stuff, and unfortunately, the DA's office is right. There's nothing here that connects them all. It's just all speculative nonsense.
But I think too many people are reliant on social media being a major, like a source of truthful news. It's really more of a gaslighting situation to make you believe that, something more nefarious is going on and these people are hiding information from you. And not to say that people, there aren't agencies out there that would hide information from the general public, but how far are you going to go?
Especially since, your investigation, allegedly, has the potential to make the real investigation that much more difficult.
Yeah.
So people have a harder time getting justice because people now just assume of what they've heard, even if it's false information. Or they may tell you things just to feel like they're involved somehow. To me, this is it's not altogether good.
And to talk about this social media thing just for a second here, because I've been really, my interest has been piqued in this Karen Reed thing. As the trial goes on, and I hear a lot from the free Karen Reed people.
Mm-hmm.
You do your research. Do your research. Do your research. And I have been.
Yeah.
And I have been watching testimony and video of testimony and all that stuff. And a lot of these things that are being said on online groups are not even true. I'm watching the testimony, and the testimony doesn't match up with the allegation being made by the group. Like, for example, about this missing library footage from the there's a they're treating it like a Zapruder film. like there must be some cover up. Footage was deleted from this librry.
Yeah. Here she is pulling a book out. It moves from the front to the back.
So I go back and watch this testimony from the last trial of this guy, this expert, who was saying, nothing was deleted. It's just like any other security system. Doesn't cover all angles. and it does show her driving in this area at that time, but there's the question that's drummed up by folks saying, like, well, if there's no other footage from this other angle, then there must be something wrong going on there. That's not a fact. It's been proven by an accident reconstruction team.
That's conjecture.
That's the timeline. And I got to tell you, the most damaging witness in the Karen Reed trial is Karen Reed. They're playing all of these clips from her on, and I said this to you Friday. I can't believe that a defense attorney would allow somebody to do as many interviews and as many of these, like, she wants to be a celebrity. And why would you continuously go on and your stories are not matching up?
Yeah.
You change your story from one interview to another.
And like we talked about on Friday, in most situations, a lawyer will tell their client, until you've gone through this trial, don't speak to the media. He's not only allowed her to do it, he's spoken to the media. All these interviews that she has done, he's done just as many interviews.
I've noticed, though, she's been keeping her mouth shut. Usually she's out on the front of that courthouse every day talking and saying stuff, but the last week she hasn't been saying jack squat.
No, because this is the kind of situation where there's so much information out there, and she has said so much stuff.
Yeah.
That she should have shut her mouth the entire time. She would have had a better chance. But again, it's all going to boil down to what the last one boiled down to, and that was, can you create enough reasonable doubt?
And I get that. I get that's part of a defense, and that's part of a thing to do. But the idea that you have gone on to all of these news organizations and done these interviews and said these things, they're using them against you now,
and doing it knowing that there was going to be another trial.
Right.
Which is even more preposterous.
I could see that happening after, okay, fine, there was not a hung jury, but it
was a mistrial.
Mistrial. You can't be tried again for it kind of thing. And then you go on and you do all those interviews, and then the chatter happens afterwards.
Right.
But to do it before another trial starts, maybe that... But again, even the best lawyer in the world can't control their own clients.
Yeah. Well, there's a certain level of arrogance that goes into speaking to the media at the wrong time. And this is one of those situations where they should have just shut their mouths and not said anything.
Let's change gears and talk about bicycles.
What kind of bicycle do you have?
An e-bike. Because nearly on every trip around the city of Westfield, it's not hard to notice e-bikes whizzing around at speeds that often seem to be over the posted speed limit, creating hazards for motorists and pedestrians. The police department wants residents to know that there are some regulations regarding the bikes. Have you ever ridden one of these things?
No.
Dude, these things are not... They're not like they say it's like, oh, it's an e-bike assist. And, and I'm thinking when I got on one of these things for the first time that, oh, okay, like when I run out of gas, if my body runs out of gas, this thing is just going to slightly glide me.
No.
These things go like 30 miles an hour.
It's like a moped.
It is. And I can't believe that there aren't more regulations on it than there are. Because regardless if it has a gas motor on it or not, it still reaches speeds. Some of these things reach speeds up to 40 miles an hour, which is crazy for a bicycle.
Yeah. You know what? That, you think about it, that's not safe.
No. Number one is speed, says Police Sergeant Juanita Mayhas, the department's director of traffic bureau, about most of the complaints the department hears about the bikes. The state has issued regulations that define the two classes of bikes. They are nearly identical. Class 1 e-bike has an electric-powered motor that is only engaged with pedaling. That's what I was talking about. That's what I was thinking of. But a friend of mine let me drive one of these Class 2 e-bikes down on the beach last year.
Yeah.
I was like cruising. I was scared because I'm like, I don't even know if I can control this thing. It's like riding a motorcycle, which can be pedaled, but usually includes a throttle to control the engine's power. And most have a fully functional pedals. While incrementally different, there is one regulation involving both. Neither should be able to travel more than 20 miles an hour. But there are other classes of bikes that can easily reach speeds of more than 20 miles an hour up to 40 miles an hour. which triggers state regulations that must be followed by operators. But it's not like you're a cop on the side of the road. Oh, well, that one's got to be Class 2. Like, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah, but if you see a guy on a bike, he's going 40 miles an hour, you should be able to pull him over.
And it's those e-bikes that department hears most complaints about, while the major complaint is the speed. Complaints are also made about the bikes being operated on sidewalks. Here is the thing that I'm concerned about. They're silent. So how easy it is for somebody who wants to break into houses or break into cars in the middle of the night, and you can easily speed away after doing so, as opposed to somebody who was breaking into cars in a driveway.
Should baseball cards and the spokes be mandatory equipment?
Yeah, maybe they should be. Maybe that should be kind of the thing to regulate these things.
like a whole lineup of like 1973, Houston Astros.
I don't know, but they say if you're going to get one of these things, make sure you're following all the regulations. It's today going to be sunny with a high of 74. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It's 46 right now in downtown Springfield. I'm Steve Nagle, and that's the news on Rock 102. Oh, yeah.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part?
Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock at 7:52, and Thin Lizzy with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
It's going to be a nice day today, sunny and a high of 74. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It's 46 right now in downtown Springfield.
We're mentioning it with Scott Cohen real briefly, but the Springfield Thunderbirds did not advance past Providence. Everybody was feeling pretty cocky after that first game. They lost at home on Friday, lost again yesterday. Still, though, great season. You got to give it credit for the Thunderbirds. They'll be back next year. You use that parking lot all season long, but great season. A good job by the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, and it happens. But listen, even to get this far as you do, in that type of, even if it was like preliminary playoff round, right?
Yeah,
is that what it was? You done good. You're done pretty good. I mean, it sucks that, we're not going to be able to, get into the playoffs here in Springfield.
Well,
but
every team is going to lose in the playoffs except one. And it wasn't their year. Next year,
why couldn't it be our team?
Well, Steve, they were in the finals a couple seasons ago, and that was pretty damn exciting. And but not everybody gets a chance to win.
And listen, as Nate was in here last week, it's a good thing for the city. Honestly, 20 years ago, I wouldn't want to be caught downtown. It was not like a safe place to be. I don't think it really. There was nothing about it that was promoted as being a place that a lot of people wanted to go, and we saw that with an economic downturn and everything like that.
I don't know about that. I mean, I think as long as you were out the streets by say 6:30 at night, I think you were perfectly safe.
But I really think they've done a great job, and not just the Thunderbirds, but everybody in that area down there that has kind of revamped the area where it feels much more inviting to people. To go down there, and I mean, believe me, there's certain parts I'm still not going to go to. But
no, of course not.
But I mean, as far as that downtown area, I don't feel like unsafe walking from.
I never really have, to be honest. I mean, I've lived in bigger cities. Frankly, it was scarier there.
I don't think you were in the right place.
Apparently not.
Yeah,
but no, between the Mass Mutual Center and what it brings to town, between what's been going on. With the parking garage and MGM, and the fact that Court Square is going to reopen soon. What they did to the building on Elm Street. I mean, there's a lot going on in Springfield, and you know what? It benefits the entire city to have a vibrant downtown.
You know what was the kickstart of that whole thing? Richie Neal naming a courthouse after himself. That's it.
Yeah,
I mean, you couldn't have started anywhere better than by naming courthouse after somebody who's still alive and well.
Well, like what they did on Tapley Street, Tapley in St. James. They named the Public Works building after Richie Neal, and now they've got a beautiful rotary. You can get right on the highway from that thing. It's breathtaking.
Oh, look at that Department of Public Works building, named after Richie Neal. Not a whole lot going on in there. Not very functional, and
Look at the Richie Neal Medical Clinic on Main Street. All those people that walk in there are sick. When they come out, they're feeling a hell of a lot better, and you can thank Richie Neal for that.
That's right.
That's right.
Damn it.
That's right. Richie Neal has turned this thing around.
Listen, anything can we should call it the Richie Neal open pantry building. Maybe we could actually wouldn't have to worry about getting any funding for it.
That's right. He alone could fight food insecurity.
He's like the Superman of Congress.
Completely bulletproof.
Oh, yeah,
In
bulletproof,
fact,
yeah.
You could shoot his chest with bullets, and by the end of it, you got to throw your gun at his chest.
I bet you could.
Yeah, that's right.
I bet you could.
It's 7:56 on Rock 102.
And the winner.
And now, Bax's View from the Couch, brought to you by Rocky's Ace Hardware, Benjamin Moore Paint, Cabot Stains, plus rock-solid painting advice and expertise.
Hey, good morning, sports fans. How the heck are you? Well, folks, the NFL draft is finally over, and considering what happened over the last couple of days, I'd say the New England Patriots had a pretty solid draft, sewing up several concerns and restoring a sense of optimism that we have not seen around these parts in quite some time. Of course, the biggest story of the draft wasn't who went first or who picked whom. The real story all weekend was about former Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders and how he went from being a top 5 prospect to being selected in the 5th round by Cleveland. Sure, everybody has their opinion, a crummy attitude, a daunting father, poor interviewing skills, questionable arm strength. Whatever the reason might be, many are wondering how so many teams chose to pass on a guy who was arguably worthy of a first-round selection and then chosen by a team that's already got too many quarterbacks in the roster. I don't have an answer to that, although I do have to applaud Jax Ulbrich, the son of Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, for conducting the best prank of the entire draft. And some of you may have heard by now, Jax Ulbrich was able to get Shedeur Sanders' personal phone number from his father's unattended tablet. He then called Sanders, pretending to be Mickey Loomis, general manager of the New Orleans Saints, telling him, "Hey, we're picking you next." Except they didn't. Now in the world of hilarious pranks and practical jokes, I give this kid an A for an effort. Telling a guy he's been drafted while he's too busy tumbling down into the 5th round of the draft is absolutely hilarious. But swiping a phone number from your old man's iPad, man, are you gonna get it? The kid has since apologized on Instagram from an account that his parents probably should have blocked. Meanwhile, Sanders is accepting the apology, and the Falcons understand that Jeff Ulbrich's kid acted alone and that he may be somewhat of a jerk. In other words, he got away with it. What's next? Saran wrap on the toilets in the Cleveland locker room? Putting jock straps in the freezer? How about old hair dye in the shampoo bottle gag? That one gets them every time. And it's still one of my favorites next to the dribble glass and whoopee cushions. But hey, enough of my yapping. Sports brought to you by Rocky's Ace Hardware. Benjamin Moore, hell of a paint. In fact, it's America's most famous paint, and for good reason. May not be the cheapest stuff, but it's super premium. And once in a while, every now and then, Rocky's has got a special deal. 20% off Benjamin Moore interior paint. Now, how does that sound? You'll find it today at your neighborhood Rocky's Ace Hardware. I'm Bax. That's my view from the couch.
Rock 102.
Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 8:11 and Billy Idol with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Going to be sunny today with a high of 74. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It is 46 right now in downtown Springfield. We were talking in the 6:30 news about this new voting rule that's up for debate in Deerfield. And my question to you off the air was, can they do this? I didn't know you could lower the voting age. I thought the voting age is 18, but then you explained that it was federally it's 18, but the states have the right to lower it if they want to.
So I was reading up on it. There are cities and towns across America where they've lowered the voting age for things like school department votes. If you're running for school committee, right? They're allowing 16, 17-year-old kids to vote, and it's controversial because there's some on one hand there are people who think, well, you're going to get more voters, more engagement, and earlier engagement, and there may be a benefit to that. But there are on the other side, where people are saying, developmentally speaking, a 16-year-old may not make intelligent decisions at the polling booth.
Well, tonight at the annual town meeting in Deerfield, residents will decide whether to lower the voting age for town elections. The proposal would lower the voting age in town to 16 years old. It would only apply to town elections, not state or federal. A similar proposal went before the town last year, put forward by local students. It was considered in Conway, Deerfield, Sunderland, and Whately, and Deerfield was the only town to reject it. If approved, it would begin the process of sending a petition to the state legislature asking them to approve the change. MassVote.org says that some lawmakers introduced an act back in 2019 that would have allowed cities and towns to lower their voting age without state approval, but it ended up stalling in committee. It's the very last item on the agenda coming after the annual budget and 21 other articles. Can you imagine having to wait all through those 21 articles and the budget debate to finally go, sorry, we ran out of time?
Yeah, we'll have to table this for our next meeting.
The meeting,
which is probably going to be what happens.
The meeting will be held at the Frontier Regional School at 7 p.m. I was saying, I don't know, it doesn't really bother me if 16-year-olds can vote. I don't see what the big deal is.
Well, the big deal is, so we have an apathy situation in this country where a lot of people just simply don't vote and don't get involved in the election process whatsoever. Most of the people that don't feel kind of disengaged from it, or they don't have a strong opinion
either way,
one way or another. The question is, does that change? Does that improve if you allow younger voters to participate? Now, if you remember, back in like the 70s, they lowered it from 21 to 18 because at the time there were a lot of 18-year-old kids who were being drafted into the service, and they felt like if you were old enough to go and let me just see if I
TV
can
is
take that.
bothering me. It keeps doing that restart thing.
I lost my train of thought.
Right, back in the 70s, they changed it to 18
they changed
because people were being drafted.
If you're old enough to serve in war, you should be old enough to vote.
Right.
It hadn't been going that way, but it made its case. There are many people that believe in a developmental level that a 16-year-old kid, most 16-year-old kids don't pay taxes, don't pay income tax, so they don't really have a good perspective on what the needs of a town or a city may be fully. They may not fully grasp that concept, as opposed to someone who may be 18 or older who has started to, what is going on with that thing? It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, let me just turn it on.
Anyway, okay.
All right.
They may not, you understand what I'm saying? It's like they may not necessarily be mature enough to understand the ramifications of their vote. They simply because they don't have the life experience to make that kind of rational decision.
But if you can work, drive, and pay taxes, like many of them do with, jobs, if you're legally allowed to work full time in most states, there are restrictions to that. But then there are, you're still paying taxes on a payroll tax. You might not be paying income tax per se,
right?
But you can drive a 2-ton vehicle down a highway.
Can you do that at 16? Jesus, what is going on with that thing? At 16, can you? They're allowed to do that.
Car is 2 tons.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to drive a commercial vehicle.
No.
And there are still restrictions at the time. There's still restrictions until the age of 18. But you couldn't drive. You couldn't drive with other people in the car.
But if the government's willing to take your money and hold you responsible for, I think you deserve representation. What is going on with this god darn TV? What is it? What's going on with that?
I don't know. I believe
it just
I've turned
keeps
it off.
restarting. I'm like, it's throwing off my train of thought.
I know, it's very aggravating. Anyway,
you couldn't get a date with a hot babe and I lost my train of thought.
I find tinsel and TVs that won't turn off to be very distracting.
Very distracting. But back to the argument. You're willing to be taxed. The government's willing to tax you. And granted, most kids get that money back at the end of the year, but you're still taking that money from them to use for other purposes before you give it back to them at the end of the year, no interest included.
Sure.
So, I don't know. I mean, if you're contributing to that.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You have children, right?
I do.
How many?
2.
2. And what are their ages?
15. Well, one will be 15 and the other one's 13.
Okay. Developmentally speaking, it's a 2-year gap. Do you see a developmental difference between the 13-year-old and a 15-year-old?
Yeah. I mean, there's a gap there.
Right. The same developmental chasm exists between the 16-year-old and the 18-year-old. There are certain things that a 16-year-old would never consider when they're making decisions that the 18-year-old would. Same thing with 18 to 20, 20 to 21. there are, you're kind of developing until about the age of 25 when your brain is at full capacity. Well, you ever talk to a 25-year-old kid, even that's questionable. But life, experience allows you to have a different set of understandings about life and about what politics are, what policy is. I don't think necessarily a 16-year-old is the best judge for placing a vote.
Even in a town election? I mean, you're not talking about changing the national voting age or changing the state voting age to 18.
Even in a town election where so many town elections are predicated on the idea of where your tax money goes.
Yeah.
I don't think the 16-year-old has enough perspective to be judging that.
But they already live in the community. They use the parks. They use the roads. They go to schools. I mean, oh my God, this TV. I don't know. Why does it keep turning
I don't know. You got me. The cable box is off. Now it's on.
This is ruining a perfectly boring conversation.
I know. We were having so much fun, not having anything interesting at all.
But local elections impact them immediately.
Yes. But again, most local elections are based primarily on where tax dollars are allocated. A lot of them are.
But,
so I don't think you can just cherry pick which ones they can get involved with and which ones you don't. You're either going to have them vote in every local election or you don't. And I think that with local elections, a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old may not have the proper perspective to cast their vote in a productive way.
Okay, I can see that, but maturity doesn't just click on like a switch when you turn 18. There are many different people.
Sure.
What's the difference between a kid basing his vote on, whether we should stay up past 9 o'clock on a school night, or a 50-year-old man who gets his accurate information from a meme on Facebook?
Well, I mean, would you lower the age of selective service?
Well, that would be a thing that would be allowed to be voted on by.
But that's not the question I'm asking. The question I'm asking is, do you feel like the age of selective service should be lowered to 16?
I think that if you're going to allow a kid to work and drive a car and all that stuff, yeah, it should be. It should be lowered.
Then are you going to lower the drinking age too?
That would be something that would be voted on. I mean,
but that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking whether you voted for. It's like, would you feel comfortable having a 16-year-old buy alcohol?
But that's not my personal view. Would be no. But that doesn't.
Why?
Because I don't know.
Because they're not old enough to make rational thoughts about what they do with alcohol?
Yeah, but what about when you were 18 years old?
I was an idiot at 18. I'll be the first to admit I should be voting or having any real decisions in anything.
Did you think at the time this was a bad idea?
At the time, I voted for the first time when I was 18. Yes, I did. Did I know exactly what I was voting for? No, probably not.
Let's take a call on this. What's your favorite voting below underage story?
Rock 102, good morning, is this?
Hey, good morning, guys. Mike the Lawn Guy. How we doing?
Good,
what's up,
Mike? What's up?
I just wanted to chime in on this. I think the bigger point, it's not even that they can't be mature enough, the 16-year-olds voting, that they can't be mature enough or intellectual enough, but they don't have skin in the game. They're not paying property taxes. They're not working full-time jobs where they really understand the value of where that money is allocated.
Yeah, but I think that's actually a very good point. I kind of tried to make that point. It's like you don't have the perspective of where your vote goes, especially when you're talking about votes in which tax dollars are spent on something.
But would you agree that most people over the age of 18 don't even understand what some of the issues are?
Yeah, absolutely, I do. But I'm just, for example, in our town, we're voting on a new sports complex with field lights and everything that's costing like $20 million. And, I mean, my kids, and I'm sure yours were 16 years old, really wasting money, wasting hot water, throwing things they wore one time in the laundry, whatever. They have no idea of where the money comes from or where it goes. It's not until you really start working for that money and you see those taxes coming out of your paycheck that I think you really understand it and how you need to conserve in certain places. Because I guarantee every kid in my town would vote for that new sports complex, not understanding how it's going to drive property taxes up.
I think if you're paying for it, what the hell do I care?
Well, but that's just it. It's a matter of perspective, and I think that that a certain level of maturity, can help you dictate whether or not your vote in that particular case is the right vote. And yeah, I don't think you can do that at 16. Again, you don't have skin in the game. It's a very good point.
Yeah, I'm on Team Bax on this one. Sorry, Nagle.
Oh, I don't really care. I'm just saying maturity isn't some magical thing like some Harry Potter spell that happens at 18. So, if you're willing to let somebody die in a war at 18 years old, why can't they vote on a school budget at the age of 16?
But it's not really about that. You do have to set a minimum. 18 would probably be the minimum.
What are you the most afraid of, though, that would be happening if a 16-year-old was able to vote? Do you really think there would be bands and bands of 16-year-olds wanting to go out and do this? I mean, most of them probably don't even care, like the voters you were talking about, the ones that don't even vote, the people that sit there
I guess
and don't get involved.
I guess it's not really about fear. I think for me the idea is my vote for me has currency behind it. My vote is the one thing I can do that can exact change if I don't feel comfortable with what's going on in the country. But my vote becomes every bit as important as a 16-year-old, even though I may have greater perspective of what's going on in the world than the 16-year-old.
Let me ask you this.
So now you basically have the same value of that vote.
What have you done that you have voted for throughout all of the years that you've been voting that has made actual change? That you feel that because I voted for this is how life is better now today.
Steve, if you were going to ask that question, you're basically saying, what's the point of voting at all? And that's not the way it should be. If you believe your vote means nothing.
I'm not saying your vote means nothing.
But that's what you're insinuating by that question.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you what you have felt that you have been a part of, that you have voted for, that has changed your life in a positive way.
It's not a matter of that. You're asking the wrong question. The question is, do I have a voice in electing a mayor, electing a congressman, voting for a ballot question? In that case, my vote does make a difference. My vote out of tens of millions in a presidential election may seem very small, but in a local election, it means a lot. And so, to me, to just blanketly say, let's get the younger vote here because we want more people to vote, I don't think that's really the answer. The answer is maybe having some more mature people vote. Mike, I'm sure
get off the phone. I don't even want to talk to you anymore. You can just hang up. Well, you can just hang up when we go into this thing. We have another caller calling in.
It's like this is your show or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Right. Have a good day, guys.
All right, thank you. Rock one. They hung up.
Oh. Well, of course. Well, because nobody wanted to. They're probably telling us to shut up.
I don't blame you. What are you talking about serious stuff
We're
for?
out of time anyway.
It's 8:25 on Rock 102.
Quiet, please.
You hear that?
It's 8:27 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Dan Brown will have the full forecast for you.
Hey, this week on Baxi's Musical Podcast, my guest is Mark Burgess from the Chameleons. He's joining me for now the second time. The Chameleons are one of the maybe most overlooked bands of all time. Absolutely amazing band. They're going to be at in Boston on Wednesday night at Big Night Live. They got a brand new record that's coming out in the fall. Their first in over 20 years, but the band has been touring ever since the 80s, and it's outstanding. You would hear that interview now on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, the Rock 102 YouTube channel, rock102.com, as well as the app, and it's all brought to you by Metro, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram at Chicopee, and Rock 102 Springfield's Classic Rock.
I like this guy. Steve Nagle's right to vote should be revoked.
No, you're entitled to your vote. You're a 40-some-odd-year-old man.
I'm not like. I'm opening up the idea. Why not?
Yeah,
I mean, there's valid points to people who want to vote below the age of 18.
I'm not saying it's not valid. I'm just saying it's not a particularly great idea.
Yeah, but you know what, dude? I see people who. Have you been on Facebook lately?
Yes, I know.
Have you seen the people who base their opinions on memes or on complete misinformation?
Which is why I would make the argument that if you see something like that and you disagree with the idea, that the only way of fighting back from that is to cast your vote against what they say.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're influencing other people by a Facebook meme. How helpful is that?
Assuming that meme is influencing anybody, it could be alienating people too.
When you see the people respond to those things, and you're like, I don't know if this guy's really on the up and up, and is that You're telling me that a 55-year-old guy who's all high and mighty on his Facebook memes is making a better decision than a 16-year-old kid who's actually living in the system?
No, there are plenty of 50-year-old people that are no more mature than a 14-year-old. I get that, but their life experience and perspective is maybe different. And maybe a little bit more on the ball than the 16-year-old who's voting for what looks the prettiest.
There was an argument, well, I'm not even going to get into it because it's too controversial.
And we're out of time. It's 8:30. News is next on Rock 102.
Here's your Western Mass News.
8:32 with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102. It's time for news brought to you by Aquapump, an expert in all water supply systems from the well to the pump and into the house. Here's local radio icon Steve Nagle.
All right, there's no evidence of a serial killer in Springfield. There was worry the death last week, while unfortunate. They're saying it's not connected to this theory that there's a serial killer in New England.
That may hurt your podcast or your blog, but that's apparently the truth.
45-year-old Megan Meredith was found in the area of Springfield's Riverfront Park early Tuesday morning. Meredith was unresponsive at the time she was found out and later died. On Friday, the status of that discovery went from unattended death to homicide. However, the Hamden DA's office assures Western Mass News that his office is in conjunction with the Springfield Police is working on the case vigorously, and in terms of any risk to public safety, this is what DA Gallooni had to say. I'm always a proponent of people being aware of their surroundings no matter where you live or where you are, but with the recent incidents, the recent murder this week and anything else, I'm not in a position to say. There's no reason to believe there's a need for any heightened concern for safety measures in this region. In recent days, there's been a lot of speculation online that this case is connected to others across New England, but Gallooni says there's no evidence that supports that theory at this time. However, internet sleuths are not convinced. For weeks, there's been online chatter over an alleged New England serial killer connected to discoveries of bodies and human remains across New England, and this week, a brand new social media group called Springfield SK gained nearly 20 million followers in a matter of days. That group attempting to link the recent homicide on Hall of Fame Avenue. This is just going back to what I just said about people being influenced online by things that if you're gaslit into believing something and following something,
right,
you're connecting things that aren't necessarily connectable. And it was proven over the weekend, where that murder in Groton last week, where there was speculation in that group that this has got to be the New England serial killer, and it turns out it sounds like it was a domestic dispute. Unfortunate nonetheless.
Yeah,
but still, it had nothing to do with a serial killer.
You're right.
And police aren't just going to come out and say all the details of a case, because that's how you keep things quiet. You don't want to reveal, you don't want to give any leg up to a suspect that might be involved in this case.
Whether it's this case or the Karen Reed trial or the OJ trial, or pick anything, any trial or anything that you think there's some sort of conspiracy or, whatever there may be. The moment I start reading this stuff on the internet has now become the moment I completely discount it automatically. Because it's like, who do you think
tell?
Right. Who do you think you are where you can, just speculate your way to the truth? Because it's not like any of these people have, evidence that they can support. It's not like they know. They just think they know. That's not really good enough.
No. And
even in a trial, you may not get the truth. You just get the evidence as it's presented. You may not know exactly whatever happened.
I said this a couple hours ago about that, because I'm really kind of intrigued with this Karen Reed trial and people who are on the free Karen Reed bandwagon saying, right, look at the evidence. Look, do your research. So, you know what? I did. I went back and I watched these videos of testimony, and there's a lot of things that are being said online that don't hold water from what you're saying, because the actual fact that was brought up in the case is not matching what you're saying. Because anybody can just go on and say like an outcome to something.
Okay.
Well, because this happened, then this must have happened.
Well, you know who did look at all the evidence as it was presented in the trial?
The lawyers.
And the jury.
And the jury.
And it was a mistrial.
Yeah.
So they couldn't figure it out either.
And I'm kind of curious as to why. I mean, I guess if you're so staunchly against, I think a lot of people are upset about police corruption. I think that's what it comes down to. And to not want somebody to be convicted because there's clear signs of, a boys club going on in this Canton Police Department and all that stuff. I get that. But when you're trying to change what evidence is from what was presented to a jury in court, then you're not really, and like I said earlier, the biggest, the most damaging witness in the Karen Reed case is Karen Reed herself because of all the things that she's saying. And they're playing these clips from these interviews, which I still can't grasp why you would go out and talk to the media as much as she did. But here they are using it against her. When they arrest you and they say anything you say can and will be used against you,
there's a good reason for it.
They're doing it. They're using it against her. And I don't know. The more I see, I'm not making an assumption. I've always said all along, I've known plenty of drunks from Taunton, Massachusetts.
Me too, for that matter.
Which I'm sure more than one have said, "Oh my God, did I hit him?"
I know plenty of drunks from Taunton that have changed their story multiple times.
Here's my masshole flavored defense. Somebody else did it.
My car hit him wicked hard.
What's the flavor of your masshole argument? Have you ever spoken in tongues through the taste of a masshole?
It leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
It absolutely does. So I don't know. Back to the serial killer thing. It's like, anybody can connect something to a bigger argument. There's a murder that happened in Springfield. This must be connected to that serial killer that may or may not exist.
Well, again, if you insert yourself into an investigation by investigating it on your own, you're actually hurting the investigation by doing it on your own.
Yeah. Let's see what else is going on here. We talked about the food pantry. Oh, there's a tunnel. This is the thing I wanted to talk about. The long-delayed plans to repair the problematic German Arena Tunnel are moving forward, but questions are now being asked about how the city of Springfield plans to replace the elementary school will impact the project. The State Department of Transportation unveiled the preliminary plans for the tunnel repair, which are 25% complete in a public meeting in April, but did not discuss the proposal for the school. The state agreed to fix the tunnel at least 6 years ago, but the project has been delayed for years, in part because of the pandemic. The estimated cost for the repairs is now about $4.2 million. Ongoing water filtration in the tunnel below the school has led to infiltration, said Ashley Bomley, design consultant for Alfred Bench and Company, which is drafting the plan, said at an April meeting. The school tunnel allows students and community members to walk from Main Street to Plainfield Street under Bernie Avenue, allowing them to cross under the railroad tracks and bypass I-91. It has been plagued with leaks and flooding for more than 2 decades. The water has led to mold and made several rooms designed for after-school programs unusable. I had no idea there was a tunnel under this thing.
I know. It almost makes it sound like there's like a secret society living among us that we had no idea.
Is that where the Freemasons meet?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like fleshy-headed mutants from the Alpha Zone.
Yeah. The plans call for repairs to be made to deteriorated areas and concrete topping slab to be placed over the beams of the tunnel to prevent leaking. Groundwater pumps and waterproofing will also be added. Included in the project are plans to make Bernie Road safer and Bernie Avenue?
I thought it was Avenue. I don't know.
Bernie Road. Anyway, address speeding issues in front of the school. The plan calls for the road to be narrowed to leave space for a bus queuing area and a shared bike walking area separated from the street. A speed table will also be added in front of the school. Construction is expected to take 2 seasons, with crews first excavating one side of the tunnel and closing one lane We should have a tunnel from the old building to the new building that hasn't been built yet.
Well, when the new building is built,
when is that going to happen?
I don't know. When a shovel is actually put into the ground, there'll be no reason to walk over to the old building. We don't need to put a tunnel here.
We could use this as storage. Can we?
Have you looked around the building?
Yeah.
I wouldn't put anything of any value in this building.
I don't know. I'd kind of like to see a tunnel. We need more tunnels in our lives.
I recently did a video in which I took pictures of around the building, and I hadn't been outside, like around the building, in a good long time. I mean, usually I look at the mold and the black mold damage on the inside rather than on the outside. I could not believe what I was seeing from the outside.
It
almost looks like the inside is the best part of the whole building.
No, the outside is actually the best part of the inside of the building.
Do yourself a favor. Like, walk around the building after the show. You'll change your tune.
I have.
When you see some of the things that are no longer connected to the building that should be.
I like every year when they decide, hey, let's have an employee barbecue, and then they open up the grill outside, and they got to clean out all the cobwebs. And, I
like the fact that the grill gets a little bit closer to the building every year, so if there's a problem, we'll get our new building faster.
Well, you never know. You never know what could happen. An accused drug dealer in East Texas is facing charges after police say he filled at least 5 plastic Easter eggs with weed and hid them for customers to find. It happened in Lufkin, Texas. Oh, we get one of this related to the guy here. About 120 miles northeast of Houston. The guy's name is Avante Nicholson, and cops found out about it after he posted photos of the eggs on Facebook. Is that the guy you want voting in your local election?
No.
He told people that whoever shopped with him that day would get hints revealing where the eggs were hidden. Police found 4 of them. The 5th egg was found in a park by a man and his granddaughter the day after Easter. Most of them were hidden in parks. Cops also found at least 1 egg behind a Motel 6. Listen, I've found an Easter egg behind a Motel 6 filled with some nefarious substances before, too. I think it was remnants from room 39. Altogether, the eggs had just over a quarter ounce of weed in them, and last we heard, cops are still trying to track Avante down. But they got their little plastic Easter eggs. I got photos of them right here. Photos of the Easter eggs.
Well, why couldn't those folks enjoy a good Easter egg hunt like anybody else?
Well, I mean, if you're going to do this, at least put a coupon in there. Just put a coupon. Hey, I owe you 1 free bag of weed, as opposed to actually putting weed, because I don't think it's legal in Texas.
I don't know the legality or the law in Texas. All I can tell you is that if you're a reefer zombie, what could be more fun?
Yeah.
What could be more fun?
I like this comment on here. Arresting a small business owner trying to do a promotional holiday deal for his loyal customers? Outrageous.
I like it.
Ain't nobody need to be locked up or hunted down for a few Easter eggs with bud when we have sexual assault cases and domestic violence cases and all that other stuff going on. I guess if you live there, you might think differently.
Maybe.
I don't know. Not all heroes wear capes. Well, they got some good points on there. Your Pioneer Valley forecast today, going to be sunny and nice today with a high of 74. Tomorrow, mix of sun and clouds with a high of 74. It's 46 right now in downtown Springfield. I'm Steve Nagle, and that's the news on Rock 102. Oh, yeah.
Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 8:53 in the Stone Temple Pilots with Bax and Nagle and Rock 102.
Sunny and nice today with a high of 74. It is 58 in downtown Springfield. I was reading this article in Mass Live over the weekend. New chicken cutlet sandwich shop in Boston is like Chipotle for Italians.
So it's like Italian chicken sandwiches.
You can get it
added with additional listeria.
Is that how that works? I don't know. Are the Italians known for the listeria? I didn't know. Meaning that you can get it made however you want. You get the chicken cutlet, and then you can put whatever toppings you want on it and all that stuff. But like Chipotle for Italians, what is there, like There's like a mother out there going, "Come on, you don't eat enough. Sit down. You'll do your skin and bones.
Look at you. You don't have enough food and you ram right through your colon."
Yeah. Where's like the Subway for Greeks? You know, do they have one of those?
I don't know if they do.
Or the Five Guys for Jewish grandmas?
I have no idea.
I mean, is there a guy coming out and harassing you going, "You shouldn't be putting onions on now. What are you talking about?" I told you I knew a guy. Actually, it was my buddy Felix. You remember that? Remember Felix, the guy who was in the movies and all that stuff? Yeah. He's now a retired Springfield court officer, but he was in some pretty big films.
Sure.
But he went to this restaurant that no longer exists. I think it was Bon Appetit in Westfield.
Oh, wow.
It's now a Russian church. Like, they knocked the whole thing down and they put up a Russian church in there. But there was an attack. The place was pretty damn good. And he ordered some kind of seafood and he wanted Parmesan cheese on it.
On the seafood.
And the owner, flipped a nutty on him. "You don't put the Parmesan cheese on my seafood!" Like telling somebody. And the argument was like, what the hell? I understand that you got, family values and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's a customer paying for something. If they want cheese on it, what's the big deal? This is what I'm getting at. When you go into a place like this, are you going to get ridiculed for, I want mustard on my chicken cutlet and
it's like there's some chefs, not all chefs, but some chefs, if they see you putting salt
they get
on the food that they have painstakingly seasoned at every stage of the dish.
Yeah.
It's kind of an insult.
That, I have a friend of mine who's Latino, and we went over to I helped him move the one time, right?
Uh-huh.
And then he brings me over to his mother's house, and his mother, is this sweet little old Puerto Rican lady, right? And she would, every Sunday, she'd make pernil and the rice and the plantains and all that stuff. And he's like, "Listen, I can't pay you, but I'll pay you in food. Let's come over to my mother's house." And I'm like,
"That's a good deal,
fat guy. That's music to my ears. Come on over, bring it." So we sit down in their dining room, and I'm eating the pernil, and her daughter is sitting there at the table, and I said, do you have any salt? And it was like me being in that Polaner all fruit commercial, like the redneck guy. "Please pass the all fruit. Could you please pass the Polaner all fruit?" And I'm like, "Could you please pass the jelly?" It was like I insulted somebody to the 10th degree. "You want to put salt on my mama's food?" It was like, whoa. And then the mother was like, she knew I helped her son. She's like, "He can put salt on whatever he wants."
Yeah, but as soon as you left, she's probably throwing all the knives in the kitchen right at the door at you.
Bitching me out. So, anyway.
Hey, a great show coming to 52 Sumner on May 3rd. What is that? Saturday. Beautiful Losers. I believe that is the Bob Seger tribute.
Yeah.
Great show. If you want to win a pair of tickets, we got a pair right now. 10th caller, 293-1021. Good luck to you.
There you go.
All right. Just about 8:58 on Rock 102. Rock 102, Springfield's Classic Rock. It's 9:12 and Eddie Money with Bax and Nagle on Rock 102.
Sunny and 74 today. It is 59 right now in downtown Springfield. Are you ready for some fun facts, Bax?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it hits you in the nads. The backs of life.
The backs of life.
The backs of life. We're not always kings and queens.
All right.
You got some?
Happy Monday. Are you ready for some fun facts?
Yes, I am, Steve.
Well, let me get to them first because I forgot to pull them up on my screen in front of me. Number one. West Virginia is the only remaining state that doesn't ban bestiality.
Is that a fact?
I got a buddy. In West Virginia, dating someone from the wrong side of the tracks could literally mean a donkey. Well, that's a nice piece of ass you have there.
Hate to see the donkey punching that one.
Number
2.
After Top Gun came out, the number of men joining the Navy to become naval pilots went up by 500%.
Really?
That's not patriotism. That's the power of a shirtless volleyball scene. Somewhere, a naval recruiter is thanking Tom Cruise's nipples for their service.
Rotate!
Number
3.
Ventriloquism started as a religious practice. The ancient Greeks called it gastromancy, and they believed that the ventriloquist was getting messages from spirits in their stomach and revealing them through a dummy. So basically, ancient Greece invented the first open mic night for possessed puppets. Number 4. The original name for Frank Sinatra's song New York, New York was Theme from New York, New York, and it was the theme song from the Martin Scorsese movie New York, New York in 1977. That version was performed by Liza Minnelli. Sinatra re-recorded his own version in 1979, and that became the version everybody knows. So Liza Minnelli walked so Sinatra could swagger. Honestly, the theme from New York, New York sounds less like a song title and more like a discount Groupon tour. Number 5. The NHL Stanley Cup can hold 23 beers. That's 23 12-ounce bottles, or just over 2 gallons. And more than 2,000 Monopoly hotels. Which means after you win the Stanley Cup, you can either drown your sorrows in beer or build a passive-aggressive real estate empire. Either way, someone's waking up naked with dice stuck to their foreheads. And there you go. That's the Bax Line.
There you go.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it hits you in the nads. The Bax of Life.
Bax of
The
Life.
Bax of Life.
It's 9:16 at Rock 102.